night I just saw an awesome movie called Drive. Yay. It was awesome. It's about a young man living in LA. He works as a Hollywood stunt driver by day, working on films, and a getaway driver by night, involved with illegal activities such as robberies and heists and things of that nature. He meets a young woman who lives in his building, who has a young son, and he develops a relationship with them. You soon find out that she has a husband in jail who is about to come back. The plot thickens, as you can imagine, when the husband comes home. The plot really takes off after Ryan Gosling becomes really involved with this family because he willingly agrees to be the getaway driver for a robbery that the husband is involved with. So this movie stars Ryan Gosling and Carey Mulligan. Ryan Gosling, I've never been hugely into him. I was not one of the many girls who kind of fell in love with him through The Notebook because I was never a huge Notebook fan. But wow, I'm totally into him now. I have definitely walked out of this movie with a huge crush on him, for sure. He was awesome, really awesome. Carey Mulligan, I love her too. I like the husband too, Standard, the husband. There's a scene where he first meets Ryan Gosling's character, who is called the driver. He doesn't have a name. So when he first meets the driver and they're in the hallway of their apartment building, he's kind of being friendly to Ryan Gosling's character, but at the same time is like has this undertone of like, you better watch your back and not overstep your boundaries with my wife and my family. One thing I really liked about this movie in regards to the acting was that the main actors actually say very, very little. It's very not dialogue heavy. A lot is said through the eyes and through facial expressions. Carey Mulligan and Ryan Gosling do this amazingly well. Another one of the great things about the driver character in particular is that you're introduced to him as a very, very quiet character, doesn't say much, very reserved. You think maybe he's very self-contained. Sure, maybe he has a past, you don't know, he's mysterious, maybe he's bottling some things up. But then the movie takes a turn in terms of the plot, and so does the character. Comes out of nowhere and like is like boom, like right in your face. So the overall mood and style of this film was another great element of it because I went into this film thinking it was set in the 1980s. I don't know why I thought that, but I did. And it was not set in the 1980s. It is set in the present day, but it has a 1980s vibe to it. I want to talk about the soundtrack and score to this film for a second because I think it added a lot to it and was a really great aspect of the film. I believe all of them are actually from modern current bands. I could be wrong about that, but I think all the songs featured are. There's a main song featured in the film. It comes in at the end, or comes in the beginning, comes in at the end. It's called, I think it's called A Real Hero by a band called College. The second part of the soundtrack is the original film score by a guy called Cliff Martinez. He's done some other recent films like Contagion and The Lincoln Lawyer. He does a really brilliant job of perfectly interweaving the actual songs used in it and the score. Really cool aspect of this movie that stood out to me was the costume worn by Ryan Gosling. And I do think it's iconic, the character he created. He wears a very distinctive, throughout a lot of the movie, a very distinctive white satin jacket, which gives it kind of a late 70s, early 80s feel. The reason I think the costume is so brilliant and the jacket is such a good idea is because I really feel like the costume designer intentionally put him in white. Because I'm not trying to ruin anything in the movie by this. I'm going to talk about the violence in a minute anyway, but there's a lot of blood. It's a bit of a bloodbath. The driver is covered in a lot of blood by the end of the movie. I won't say whose it is, but it comes from a variety of sources. He's drenched in blood by the end of the movie. He's wearing a white jacket, so you really see it. I think that was a conscious decision, and I think it was brilliant. The violence in this film. I'm not going to call it a negative because it just is what it is. I did a couple of these, but it was different than a movie like Black Swan, where the violent, cringe-worthy gore moments sneak up on you, and you're like, oh man, why did I just see that? I can't get that image out of my head. On the point where you cannot stand violence in a movie to the point where you can't even hear the sound of like bones cracking or anything like that, you're not gonna like this movie. You're gonna be uncomfortable. But if you can stand it to the point where you just close your eyes a little bit and you're fine, you will still enjoy the movie tremendously. It did not hinder my liking of this movie at all. So I guess I'm gonna rate movies on a 1 to 10 system. Give this movie a 9 out of 10. So if you like this review, if you happen to stumble upon it and think I have some legitimacy as a film reviewer on this YouTube, on these tubes, then please subscribe to me, as I will be doing more in the future and satiating my need to talk about movies after I see them. So that's it. Drive, 9 out of 10, great movie. Makes me excited for the Oscar season and the movies to come in the next couple months.